Welcome to the Time to Fly podcast. It's time to give your business wings and take flight to achieve more impact, influence, and income with unique perspectives, tools, and tips from successful entrepreneurs and business professionals to help your business fly. Here to educate, encourage, and entertain you with their own unique perspectives and experience, plus sharing anecdotes of growing up as cowgirls. Here's your host, Jill Fleming.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Time to Fly podcast. I'm your host, Jill Fleming, and today my topic is conflict and confrontation. I often encounter when I'm working with my clients that there is something that they're avoiding. And oftentimes it's a conflict or a confrontation or something that happened in their business or with someone that was another vendor, or maybe it's even someone that's close in their life, and there's some sort of conflict that came up. I encounter so often that when you avoid conflict, when you avoid confrontation, that when you avoid conflict and when you avoid confrontation, you always lose. And that is what I came to for myself here several years ago. I used to be a person that would avoid conflict, would avoid confrontation. I would have things that would happen, or people would say something to me that hurt my feelings or that just didn't feel right. And I would just take it, stuff it, and just go about my business. What I came to the conclusion of is that when you're unwilling to embrace conflict or confrontation, that you always lose. The other person will always win because their point of view will be the accurate one. And if it differs from yours and you're unwilling to speak up for yourself, they always will win. You will lose because you do not get your chance to voice your opinion, to voice the point of view that you see it from. I recently had an associate that was dealing with this in her business. She had a person that had been a contractor for her that went around her to the client and pitched a proposal to that client without going through my associate. My associate was really upset about it, but was unwilling to reach out to that person that there was a commission involved. I explained this to her of when you're unwilling to have the conversation, when you're unwilling to say, no, that's not okay, this is what we agreed upon, you always lose. And in the end, she decided that it wasn't worth it. And I find oftentimes, especially with women, we're unwilling to embrace or step into conflict and confrontation. We're just not wired for it. And oftentimes men in business, if something comes up, they have the conversation because they're like, no, you're not going to walk all over me. You're not going to take advantage of my goodwill. This is not okay. And I think it's something that's from a DNA level. It's not right or wrong, good or bad. It's just how we are wired with both our masculine brains and our feminine brains as we embrace this conflict. So for me, that's something that I've chosen to be more comfortable with. It took me a while because I used to be one of those people that when conflict came up, I would just avoid it, avoid it, and avoid it. When you avoid conflict, oftentimes it creates more and more, because if someone has taken advantage of you, and they're like, well, this time I did this and they never said anything, so it must be okay. And so it's kind of getting pushed to that point where instead of just a conflict, it can turn into a confrontation. And so I always encourage my clients of when those little things come up, step aside and discuss whatever the conflict is. And it's easier to take care of those little conflicts as they arise, as opposed to stuffing them until they turn into a full-blown confrontation. That is when you can have those big blow-ups that nobody wants in your personal life or in your business. Just remember as you're moving forward that conflict is not bad. We have this as human beings. We all have differing points of view. And when you can voice how you feel about something and say, hey, you know what? I don't see it that way. I see it this way. And are you aware of this? And asking questions to help bring to light where the conflict arose. So moving forward, you can be on the same page. And the next time that situation may come up, the other person will have a differing perspective to be able to see it from a different point of view. That's the good side. Some people, you can talk till you're blue in the face. They won't see a point of view than their own. And if you're in a business environment, then I would encourage you to do business with someone else. If you're an entrepreneur and you have contractors, or if you have clients that are always bringing up conflict and you're unable to have a discussion with them to get to a win-win situation, then sometimes it's okay to fire clients too. There's a great story that I love around when someone brings you a situation that doesn't have anything to do with you. If you have seen the movie The Help, the one maid makes a poo pie, a shit pie, for a woman who's just been really unkind to her. And so this woman makes this poo pie and puts a whole bunch of whipped cream on it and delivers it. And this woman ends up eating the poo pie in the movie The Help. And so when people bring you situations or bring you conflict or something that you don't agree with, when you agree with something that they bring to you, that you're aligning and agreeing with that. So that means that when they bring you a poo pie, you're like, oh yeah, that's right. They're saying these bad things about me, that I did something wrong, or some situation that from your point of view is not accurate. And so if you're avoiding that conflict, you're aligning and agreeing with that. And so you're eating that poo pie. So the flip side of that is resisting and reacting. So if somebody hands you a poo pie and you take that poo pie and you slap it back in their face, that's resisting and reacting to it. Or the other thing that you can do is you just take the poo pie, you take it, oh look, it's a poo pie, and you set it on the counter. You don't really need to do anything with it. There are those situations as well. Remember that when conflict arises or when situations come up, there are conflict management tools out there. A lot of it's just around questions. Please don't eat the poo pies. So with that, we're going to take a quick break for our sponsor, and we'll be right back.
This episode is sponsored by the book Freedom to Fly, the visionary leader's guide to unlocking your unique freedom code to confidently create more impact, influence, and income. Get your copy of this best-selling book on Amazon.com.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Jill Fleming, and today we've been talking about conflict resolution. One of the things that we often run into in our own business is conflict and resistance with ourselves. So when we have goals, we have things that we want to accomplish in our business, and we run into resistance with it. Resistance is just another form of conflict, only it's an internal conflict. And so as you're moving forward throughout your business, there are competing commitments that we experience. So we want to make more money in our business, but maybe we have an internal belief that we're not worth it, that what we're charging is not worth it, and that no one would pay for what we're offering. So that's an internal competing commitment. We say we want one thing, we have a goal of having a certain dollar amount come into our business, but there's a competing internal commitment that we're not worth it. And so with that conflict, that creates that resistance. And when there's that resistance, it's really hard to move a business forward. And that's what I help my clients with, is getting past that resistance, moving past those internal conflicts. One of the things that I'm offering right now for those that have some conflict or have some resistance around goals that they set in 2019 is I'm doing a 8-week Revolutions Revisited group challenge. So this starts on October 16th. This is going live here early October. And it's really to help those people that have run into resistance, that they have not achieved those goals. And we still have several weeks of 2019 left that we can knock out those goals, move your business forward, bring in some additional profit for the year. And this 8-week challenge is the container I want to do that in for my listeners. I will make sure to post a link to go out and find it. This 8-week challenge will involve a one-on-one session to really dive in and find what you're looking for. And then we'll do a weekly group challenge call that will go over different strategies, have some Q&A of what people are struggling with, what that resistance is that they're running into, and will help with some strategies to be able to move past that resistance. I use a lot of tools that I've accumulated over the past 10 years of coaching. And also I have some energetic tools that I use that can really move people forward in a fast way when they're feeling that resistance. If there's something you're interested in, check out the link in the show notes. It's the Countdown to 2020 8-week Revolutions Revisited group challenge. So if that's something that you feel might be a contribution to you, I would love to have you check it out and join us. Speaking of 2020, we're coming up on a new decade. And where are you at in your business? Where are you wanting to go in this new decade? 2020 coming up on us. Oftentimes that brings a lot of questions up of where am I? Where am I going with this? Am I where I need to be, or do I want to be further down the road with my business? And if you run into those questions like that, I'd be happy to jump on a phone call and talk through them with you. I always do a complimentary one-on-one session to help people get unstuck. That's my give back. I jump on the phone for like 20 minutes and really help create a solution for you to get you moving and get you unstuck and moving forward. With that, remember, it's time to fly. Give your business wings.
A big thank you to this episode's sponsor, Freedom to Fly, the visionary leader's guide to unlocking your unique freedom code to confidently create more impact, influence, and income. Get your copy of this best-selling book on Amazon.com.
Join our flock. Stay informed of all things Time to Fly by subscribing to our newsletter at timetoflypodcast.com. And be sure to tune in to our next show.